Hey Alpha fam, welcome back to the episode of Alpha Commission. Today on Alpha Commission, of course, we're going to go over that sideways action on the Bitcoin chart. Guys, of course, we have been monitoring these big patterns on Bitcoin, both to the upside and also the potential for some downside. Currently, we are continuing to be oriented bullishly with a higher high and potentially a higher low being implied next. The question just is, when are we going to get that higher low? And when are we going to get the massive breakout that everyone is looking forward to? Until then, of course, we do have to be aware this chart is accumulating some bearish divergence on the 4-hour as we are struggling to push past this diagonal. And as you can see, when we do have this type of topping pattern here locally, often it can result in some pretty steep pullbacks. So what we want to make sure is that we're just aware that we could fill in this area just a bit more, perhaps a dip as shallow as 106K, maybe 105K, and we're really not in any trouble unless we start losing that 103K, and then certainly we're going to want to just be very careful underneath 100K, where we could be losing some critical support. And by the time we've lost the mid 90s, it's potentially a front-runnable signal to game over unless we get a flash wick that quickly bounces back into our system. Now, if we do start putting a significant number of daily candles under 80K, I would probably call the game, right? However, for now, we do have equal potential to the upside as to the downside in terms of these patterns. Here we have that bearish shark formation, which could have us pulling back all the way to that mid 90s, which could put the fear of God in the market before perhaps a God candle breakout, just a shakeout, fake out before that breakout. And of course, they don't actually have to do that. Sometimes we do just make a swooping action into that breakout, which could be what's occurring right now as we just have a lull in the market waiting for that data, which the Federal Reserve would be using in order to make the assessment to perhaps cut interest rates as early as this month. Now, most of the market is really looking for interest rates a little bit down the line, and so any rate cuts this month would surprise the market. However, the jobs data and the economic data is a little bit weak, and that could bias the Fed to making those rate cuts earlier, especially as the president is kind of twisting their arms of their 12-man council over there. It's not just Jerome Powell, but it's an army of 12 men making all these decisions for us. And so we do have to wait to see what's going to happen there. In the next couple days, we will get those new job reports. And then I believe shortly thereafter, we'll get some notes on how the Fed is thinking, and that should illuminate the market just a bit as to what could happen for the rest of this month, or perhaps headed into September, most likely by the latest, because we do have some crunch deadlines coming up where, of course, the U.S. does have to renew some of its debt. We do also see, of course, the big, beautiful bill getting pushed through Congress slowly. It's being picked apart a bit, and we'll have to see what its final form is before it gets signed into law, but that should have a stimulative effect. And then, of course, the market is already starting to drool at the potential for rate cuts, but the question is, what's the timing on that going to be? And does Trump come in with perhaps a surprise announcement of announcing the next Fed chair, which has never really happened before the Fed chair was vacated, or at least up for grabs, and Powell should retain his seat until the end of Q1 2026. So this would be quite early. However, that would be a front-running signal to the market that they may use to also pounce in either direction, most likely to the upside, knowing who Trump would probabilistically pick there. Of course, this is looking like a little bit of a bull flag here. We do have some measured moves to the upside, so I'm still eyeballing that 126 to maybe 150. as a potential targets. Just like we have some targets to the downside, we also have those targets to the upside. And as we are in a macro uptrend, of course, we do want to remain bullish, even if it's still technically Bitcoin season, until that liquidity comes into the market to sweep up some of those altcoins of yours. Still we have bullish structure here. And of course, what Bitcoin does usually leads into the rest of the market. As soon as that liquidity is available, and everything else is just on standby until that happens, except random coins and some degenerate stuff, right? Well, I think I'm going to wrap it up there. That's your alpha for the day. Stay safe. Happy trading.